On today's episode, we pick up with Danny Wirchansky, the left-handed pitcher for the Seattle Mariners AA squad. Our first episode featured Danny signing his first pro contract the day we filmed the episode. I've been looking forward to catching up with him all season. Today's the day. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 90 Feet Away. Today I am joined by Dan Wirchansky. If you remember our first episode, it was literally the day that Danny had signed his contract to head out to Arkansas to be part of the Seattle Mariners AA organization. And I have looked forward to today for the last 6 months because, as you remember, Danny talked about his journey, not getting signed, not getting an opportunity for years after college, going through some surgeries, possibly self-doubt. And here we are. We're going to talk about it today. What an incredible year in the life of Dan Wirchansky. So help me welcome back Danny.
Thank you.
Danny, great to see you again, man.
You too.
You know, it's a little bit different, right? It's a lot different. Sitting here today, 6 months later, 6 months ago was the unknown, right? We were like celebrating that you finally got an opportunity to be able to show what we knew you had in you, but for whatever reason, you weren't getting that opportunity from anybody. Start us off from just showing up in Arizona and spring training, and I'm going to lead you through this, but start us off there.
No, yeah, spring training was cool. Obviously, like night and day different from like an independent ball spring training versus like an affiliate ball spring training. And it's like you get to the facility at like 7 in the morning. You'll have your breakfast, whatever. We'll have like our bunch of meetings. We'll have pitchers meetings. Hitters will have hitters meetings. And then they'll just talk about a lot of stuff that the organization does as a whole. So basically you just stroll in the morning, you do your stuff, you eat, you have those meetings, you go right to the weight room, you do your mobility, and then you basically find the field you have to go to, since all the spring training sites have like 8 fields. So you'll find the field you go to, you'll see if you have a bullpen day or just like a regular throwing day, and then you'll get your conditioning in and a lift, and then that's basically it for the day. So like my days were ending at like 12 o'clock, so I would grab lunch and then go back to the hotel and just hang out the rest of the day.
So your work schedule is 7 a.m. to 12 noon, which is amazing. But from the aspect of being Dan Wirchansky, unknown lefty pitcher, nobody knows who you are.
Yep.
You walk into Arizona and the Mariners, and I'm not talking not only coaching. I mean, the players have no idea who you are. You're an Indy ball guy. Like, who are you? Why are you here?
Yep.
What was that like for you? Was it a little intimidating? Were you insecure at all at the beginning?
No, it wasn't like intimidating at all. It was nice knowing I had 2 buddies that I played college summer ball with that were in the organization. And then one of my winter ball coaches my first year in Puerto Rico was a low-A coach for the Modesto Nuts. So it was cool seeing him down there. So I had some familiar faces, but just being around like 100 guys in like one locker room and then like sharing the weight room with like the big league team is like pretty cool. So you get to see some faces that you see on TV. You get to see some faces that like you don't know of, but like you know you're in a room of like a bunch of great ball players. So it's like it's nice seeing that, and like I wouldn't say it was like intimidating by any means. It was just like I know I belong and like I'm happy I'm here. So it was just a great
No, that's
experience.
awesome. So there was no insecurity like walking in. Like, I talk a lot about, you know, the imposter syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do I really belong here? Skill set wise, I mean, I've known forever since I met you that you did belong. Mm-hmm. Again, with some of the mental health stuff you've talked about in the past, it's pretty cool to hear that wasn't the case. But you get your lifts in, you have lunch, you're doing your thing. how quickly are you in front of the coaches? Like, how quickly are they getting to see who you are, what you are?
I mean, pretty quickly, because we'll have like our like, even if it wasn't like a bullpen day, we would all meet up and our strength coaches would take us through our mobility, our movement prep, and then we'd be out on the field with like the low A, the high A, the double A, like all the coaches out there. So it would be like all those coaches are there seeing us throw, whatever. Then like you'll check like, but we use Slack, so like we'll check our Slack and be like, okay, like you have a bullpen this time this day, like so like for the whole time I was throwing bullpens in front of who ended up being my double A pitching coach, Michael Peoples, and then so he was getting like firsthand being able to see who I was as a pitcher, and I was being able to see how he was as a pitching coach. And like, I texted you right away and I was like, love the guy, like knows his stuff, like very laid back. Like he would joke with me the first like day I got there, like he wouldn't say Wirchansky, he called me Worcestershire. So like we got into like a really good like we got into like a nice groove, a good relationship right away. So it made me feel real comfortable going in there.
But even though you hit it off with Peoples and you guys built a pretty good rapport, you had no idea you were starting a double A.
No. So like when they sent my contract, they said it's for double A. But then there was one time I remember texting you. I threw a bullpen with the high A pitching coach, and all my spring training games were with the high A team. So I was like, are they sending me to high A? I was like so confused. I texted you. I texted Brian, and I was just like, I got told I was going to double A. Like I'm doing all high A stuff. Like what's going on? So then last day of spring training, they're like, all right, we're posting the rosters on the wall. So I went over to the wall and I'm looking for my name. I go right to Arkansas. I was like, okay. And I saw my name at the bottom. I was like, okay, thank God I'm going to double A, and I'm not going to Everett. I'm not going to go freeze my ass off in Washington. So it was nice to see.
So I don't want to jump to the Travelers yet. We'll get there.
Yeah.
You competed in a lot of high A games. Yes. You did incredibly well. Mm-hmm. You were pretty successful in, I think, every one of your spring training outings.
Yeah.
You pitched against the Rangers.
I pitched against them every time.
So, and I know that made you feel good, right?
Yeah.
But nothing against the Texas Rangers, but the Texas Rangers were one of the teams that didn't give you a shot because they thought something was wrong with your arm. And as an athlete, there's no better feeling than to be able to show them different, right?
Yep.
And you got that opportunity many times. Okay, so now you break and you head to Arkansas. You had never been to Arkansas.
Never been to Arkansas.
Knew nothing about Arkansas.
Nope.
And at this point, like, you really don't even know what your job is going to be yet.
Yep.
Starter, reliever, short relief, long relief, lefty specialist. How does that start to formulate?
So when I left spring training, they told me I was going to be in the rotation. So I knew I was going to start. And then obviously my first month wasn't the greatest. So, like, I got pushed to the bullpen. And then I started figuring out a little bit. And then they were like, hey, like, we're going to have some moving parts. We're going to send you back to the starting role. We're moving another guy to the bullpen because Seattle kind of wanted to fast track this one kid to the majors because throwing really well, 6+ pitches, like really talented ball player. So I went back into the rotation, and then just kind of like I flipped a switch, and like everything just started clicking.
You're going forward. I'm going back. Your first month was tough.
Yeah.
As a starter. Why?
So when I threw a couple bullpens in spring training, I went down there and I was throwing like a 4-seam, a cutter, a curveball, and a changeup. And my pitching coach was like, hey, the cutter's not good. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to add a sinker and a sweeper. So I was like, okay, we'll try it. We'll play around with it. I'm not opposed to trying it. So the metrics on TrackMan were not great. Command of both pitches, not great. And they were like, yeah, we really want you throwing these pitches to lefties. Turns out my first start is against Springfield, the Cardinals affiliate, and they have 7 lefties in the lineup. So I start throwing sinkers and sliders and all this stuff, and I couldn't throw any of them for strikes, so I'm putting myself in 1-0, 2-0 counts, 3-1 counts. So it's like, okay, well, now I need to throw a fastball, and that's when the hit parades would happen, and I started walking guys, and like, yeah, it was just a rough first month.
So the first month was brutal, and I remember talking to you several times a week. You were nervous. You for the first couple of weeks, you were a little nervous.
I wouldn't even say nervous. It was just like a lack of confidence going into games, knowing that like the org wants me to throw these pitches and I don't have conviction behind it when I'm throwing it. So anyone who knows, if you're not convicted with the stuff you're throwing, it's not going to go well.
But that's part of it to me. I think there's always got to be room to learn and adjust and change. I agree with that. I need you to discuss what was going through your mind, because there was some negativity.
Oh, big time.
Okay, thinking you were going to get released. When did that change? Because for me, that was probably one of the biggest days of your season for me when they called you in, or I think it might have been Peoples. He said, "Dude, you're not going anywhere." Like walk us through that conversation.
Yeah, so struggled for majority of the first month, and then we were in Springfield and it was a rainy day. I had a bullpen and they're like, well, the field's not good to throw your bullpen. They have like an indoor like batting cages and stuff like that. They have portable mounds, so like you'll throw your bullpen in there. So I was with my pitching coach, our mental coach Steph Hale was there, and my bullpen was terrible. Couldn't throw a strike, like bounce passing curveballs, like yanking sliders, throwing sinkers in the dirt. And I'm just like, this is terrible. Like, I don't know what's going on. And like, I'm like freaking out. So then my pitching coach and the mental coach were like trying to calm me down, trying to talk me off a ledge. And like my pitching coach actually said one thing. He's like, you're a movie guy, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you've seen Happy Gilmore? I said, yeah. He goes, how does he go learn how to putt? And I said, he goes to the mini golf course. And he goes, what happens at the one hole with the clown? And I was like, well, he spits the ball back out and he starts laughing at him and he gets angry. And he goes, okay, like, there's no need to get angry. Like, you just make the adjustment and you go from there. And he's like, you're going to have your bad days, but like, he's like, I'm telling you, we're going to laugh about this in a month. So I was like, obviously I'm still frustrated. I call my dad, and like, my mental coach was talking the same thing, like basically saying the same things as him, just not bringing movie references into it. But yeah, I had that conversation with them, and like I felt defeated. I was like, there's no way they're keeping me here. I'm a free agent sign. They have prospects that they love. Like, there's no point in keeping me. They're not wasting money on me. I'm not a big sign guy. So I was just like, I don't know what to do. So then like I reached out to you. I reached out to Mike Adams, who I work with, and we try to figure out something to like help me like mechanically, mentally, stuff like that. So like once I started doing that, like I just flipped a switch. I went back to starting, and in June I just went on a tear. It was just,
again, you keep jumping ahead. All right, I don't want to talk about June yet. So having them tell you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
After struggling had to be the greatest feeling ever.
Of course.
Because, again, like they still saw something in you. I refer to you as a unicorn because nobody knew who you were. A lefty pitcher that can literally go back and forth from, starting, relieving, short relief, long relief. Again, you're a unicorn at that level. But I truly do. I believe that hearing from them that you weren't going anywhere gave you the confidence and the conviction in yourself, because you talk about a switch flipping. Switches don't flip that easily, right?
Yeah.
It's not one adjustment. It's an overall adjustment.
Of course.
It's mental, it's emotional, then it's the physical, because you go from a kid that's, I don't want to use the term struggle, but you struggle with your command, right? So you were putting yourself into bad spots because you were 3-1, 2-0, 3-1, and that's where you were getting hurt.
Yep.
And I want the audience to hear this clearly, he led the league and was pitcher of the month for the entire league in June. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about something that took 6 months or a year or 3 years. Within a month's time, dude, you went from the worst of the worst struggle to you couldn't do anything wrong.
Oh yeah, I had like an 11 to start the year.
Your ERA, we needed a calculator at times or an abacus to calculate it, but as bad as it was as good as June turned out. Mm-hmm. So now walk us through the new Danny or the old Danny mindset of I got this and cruising from there.
No, yeah. So like you said, like a little bit going back to like the whole like they had, like it just made me feel like they had trust in me when they were like, yeah, like you're not going anywhere. So it was like, okay, like obviously they remember seeing me throw well in spring training, like they know I could do it. So like that kind of gave me a little confidence boost. So then obviously going into June, they're like, hey, like you're going to be starting. So started making a few starts, started throwing really well, wasn't giving up any runs in my starts. I think I gave up 1 or 2 earned runs in the month of June. And it was just having conviction with everything. And like, honestly, it was like, not that I wasn't caring, but it was like I was just laid back and like
just playing baseball again.
I was in flow state. I was in flow state the whole time. So
no thinking.
No.
It like get a sign, throw the pitch.
Yeah.
So you went from 2-0 and 3-1 in April and the beginning of May to pounding the strike zone.
A lot of 0-2, 1-2 counts.
And you literally went from wondering if I'm getting released to leading for the audience to understand this, I'm going to say he had 4 starts in the month of June. To let up 2 runs in the month is ridiculous. To let up 2 runs per game is pretty good for a starter, never mind for the entire month. So we went from a kid that is thinking he may possibly be sent home to let's go. I want the baseball.
Yep.
So you have this incredible June. You're going on average between 5 and 6 innings every outing, right? Like you're a guy they can count on to just take the baseball. But then you're called into the office again. Okay, walk everybody through this because even that, and I don't know if I told you this, but even that made me proud of how you handled that because, well, talk about it first and then I'll jump back into it.
No, yeah, so we're finishing up in June and like we had a split series against Frisco since it was 4th of July. So we did 3 games at home. We were there for the first, second, and third, and then the 4th, 5th, and 6th we were down in Frisco. So I pitched on my birthday, and then we went down. We took a bus down to Frisco, and late, like the next day, I get called into my manager's office with my pitching coach and stuff, and they were like, "Listen, like we called up 2 prospects from High A. They're both starters. Like the org wants them to start. You're gonna go back to the pen." I laughed and I was just like, "Listen, like I appreciate you guys calling me in here and not just putting it on the Slack, having my name in the reliever role." I was like, I appreciate you guys being upfront and professional about this, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity I have. Like whenever you need me to be out of the bullpen, I'm ready to go. And
with a smile on your face the entire time.
And they were like, "I thank you for like taking it so well and understanding." I was like, I'm playing baseball. I'm where I want to be. Like, let's go.
So, again, just so the audience kind of gets an idea, I don't think any pitcher ever plans to be a reliever, right? Mm-hmm. Like it happens, and there's reasons for it. Mm-hmm. Joe Madden and the Cubs years ago had the greatest T-shirt I had ever seen, and the T-shirts were Chicago Cubs failed starter.
I have one of those.
Okay. So
the podcast you did with Austin Pope, you guys were talking about the failed starter shirt, and it came from like Andrew Chafin. So I saw that, and I got that back when I was with the Boulders, or when I got hurt and I got moved to the bullpen. And I made a joke with Robbie, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a failed starter." So I bought a shirt. So then, like, I would wear that shirt like every time I was starting. So I would wear that, and my catcher Harry Ford was like, "You got to take that shirt off. You're not a failed starter. Like, you just won pitcher of the month. Like, give me the shirt." And I'm like, "No, like this is my shirt. This is my thing. I'm a failed starter." So like, I kept running with it, and like everyone would like get mad, and like not mad, but like they'd bust my balls and be like, "You're not a failed starter." Like,
but most of the time, that's why guys are moved, right? Guys are moved because something went wrong, right? And either they couldn't give me length or they didn't have enough pitches to compete out there.
Yep.
For you, again, it's a role that you embrace,
Yep.
right? You did that in Puerto Rico. You did the Dominican Republic. You did that in the Caribbean Series. And I think having the attitude, the flexibility also showed your coaches how open you were and how happy you were to just be there, which was incredible because literally you had just been the pitcher of the month. A lot of guys' ego, attitude would have been destroyed by that.
Yep.
You were happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care like what my role is. Like, my goal is to develop as best I can, do whatever the org sees fit, and give myself the best shot to hopefully one day get to the big leagues and help the big league team and hopefully get them their first World Series. And like, whatever the org wants is like I'll do. So I was like all hands on deck, ready to go.
So you were ready to go, and I think if I remember correctly, you might have been in the bullpen for a week or less than a week.
I was in the pen for a week.
For 1 week,
Yeah.
and then an injury, and then it's, hey, Danny, we need you to start again.
Yeah.
And your answer again was
Whatever you need.
no problem.
Yeah.
And you go out there and you shove and you do really well.
Yeah,
so you guys, and again, for you, this is a little different, right? I start out in April. I'm feeling really good in spring training. I get to the end of April, beginning of May. I'm kind of feeling shitty and nothing's working. To now back to the Danny that we know and love, and anything you need, and you're doing incredibly well. That's not a temporary thing. That lasts now throughout the end of the season.
Yep.
You became a guy that they could count on to do anything that was asked of you. Having lived a year in pro ball, do you prefer one or the other? Do you prefer starting or relieving now?
So personally, I like relieving better because it's like when I start, I don't eat throughout the day. I know like, okay, this is my day. Like I have that anxiousness the whole time waiting to like play. As a reliever, it's like I may or may not go in the game. Who knows? So like I'm super relaxed the whole time. I'm even relaxed in the bullpen. I'll be sitting there sipping on my pre-workout, and then like the phone will ring. Okay, Wirchansky, get going. Like, then that's when like the anxiousness goes, and like that's when like everything's just full on go.
So is it just because of the anxiousness?
Yeah.
It's not about pitching 1 or 2 innings as opposed to 6 innings.
No.
It's just the anxiousness. You don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like my anxious tick is like I'll cough like while I'm warming up. And, like, I remember when I was starting, I would have, like, my coughs going on, and my pitching coach is like, I've never seen someone cough all year round. And I'm like, it's my anxious tick. Leave me alone. Like, that's what it is. It's not like I'm sick or anything. It's just how I get my anxious tick out.
So they got to know you and all your crazy as well.
Yeah.
You go through, and, again, I'm going to start throwing some things out. The year before – I made a phone call as a favor to get you signed in the Atlantic League, and all you did was lead the league there in ERA for the season.
Yeah.
So you go through the entire season for AA for the Arkansas Travelers. They believe in you so much that they give you the ball as a closer, pounding this in the championship game, up a run.
So we were in the division series. We were playing Springfield. I came in the 8th inning with up 1, and then the championship series against Midland, I came in tied in the 9th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tied in the 9th, they give you the baseball.
Yeah.
So from a kid that nobody knew existed a year ago, you have the baseball in your hand to decide the fate of AA Seattle Mariner baseball.
Yep.
Kind of a crazy year.
Yeah, definitely. Like I wouldn't have pictured that the first month, but
and you go from a kid who is struggling with what they're asking you to do, right? Making adjustments, changing pitches, adding things to your arsenal, to the guy that will throw anything in any count.
Yeah, I built so much confidence, especially like just having conversations with my pitching coach. We would sit down, do our player plan meetings, and he's just like, you don't need to throw the perfect sinker. You just need to throw it because in their eyes, a left-on-left sinker is the best pitch in baseball, and it doesn't have to be above average. It doesn't even have to be average. He goes, as long as you throw it, like, it's a win. So that built more confidence, and it was like, okay, just grip it and throw it, instead of like, I got to make it do this. I got to get below 10 vertical on my sinker and like XYZ amount of run on my sinker. So it's like.
So for you, how much of this year was the mental, emotional part? How much was the analytical help of teaching you more about you and what your job was and what you needed to do?
I think it hurt me in the beginning because I was so caught up on like the sinker's got to be this, the sweeper's got to be this, and like I'm trying to chase a certain type of profile for those pitches that I wasn't even worrying about the strike zone. So that kind of hurt me in the first month. But then like again, once I had the conversation with my pitching coach, he was just like, just throw a shape to a location, like don't worry about what the shape looks like, and just go from there. Like I was throwing bullpens like after that first month, like they would have TrackMan for like the org, but like he wasn't telling me one thing like metric wise. He's like, I'm not telling you one single pitch movement wise, just throw. If it's a strike, it's a strike. We literally worked on just 0-0 and 1-1 counts. So it was just like pepper the zone. And I think that's what kind of helped me also flip the switch and like get back to how I used to be and just being a strike thrower and like weak contact and the few little punches I had this year. But like it was just like getting back into the old me instead of like chasing something that I thought I could do.
But your walks at the beginning of the season were terrible. And at the end of the season, I mean, what a game. I mean, I really, I don't think it really was much more than that, right?
No, yeah, like my dad's funny. He'll like look up like all the stuff and he'll do like all the splits. He's like, your first month you had like 15, 16 walks. He goes, the rest of the season after that you had 15 walks.
For the rest of the season?
Yeah. So I had the same amount of walks in my first month as I did the last like 3 or 4 months. Which
is incredible, right? And that's why I'm asking, so how easy or difficult does Seattle make it from an analytics standpoint?
Honestly, they do a tremendous job in the pitching aspect. I can't speak for the hitters, like what they do, but like what I've been told, the whole org, like hitters and pitchers, they do a great job. But from the pitching aspect, like they do a really, really good job. I think I just got way over my head and overthought. I was overthinking a lot of things in the pitching side that like I just made it a lot harder on myself. But like once I sat down with my pitching coach a few times and like he broke it down like he was talking to a wall, it made everything much easier.
The analytic part of the game, we speak about the analytical part all the time. There's parts I really enjoy and I think are incredibly helpful. There are parts that I think are ridiculous, and I just think they're ridiculous because a lot of the time they're not coming from baseball guys, right? They're coming from baseball nerds, computer nerds that never threw a pitch. They can't tell you how to grip a baseball, but they're going to tell you about vertical and horizontal movement. I don't think you felt that one time. Like, I think you felt everything they gave you was helpful.
Yeah.
Did they give you an attack plan of the teams you were going to face as well?
Yeah, so like when I was starting, we would have like meetings. It'd be like me and like Harry Ford or Jake Anchia, one of my two catchers, and then our pitching coach, and we would go in the office, sit down, and like talk about like each hitter and like what their tendencies are, what they struggle with, and like the game plan going into that, which I don't like those. Like it makes me think way too much. That's why, again, like I love the bullpen because like we'll have the binder out there and like everyone will have their own sheet with the lineup and like it'll show you like what guys are good with and what they're not. But like I take a quick glance and like I'm good. I don't need like a full breakdown because then I start overthinking. Okay, I got to do this and I got to throw this pitch here. I got to throw this pitch there. I got to do this at this count. And it's just like –
it's just the overthinking. You'd rather just have like Harry Ford or whoever's catching.
Correct.
Tell you what you got to do, and that's it.
Yeah, and like how we talked in the first podcast, it was like I like seeing swings. So, like, if I see how a guy swings at a pitch here, like, okay, like, now I know I could use this later on, or I could go right back to it and see if he makes an adjustment or not.
How open are the Mariners in allowing you to do that? How open are they to allowing you to change the game and call your game?
They were fine with it because, again, like, it's not like I was changing, like, what they had planned for me. Like, my plan A that they wanted me to do, I still did, but, like,
The sequence could have changed.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I was still doing what they wanted me to do. It was just I would have, like, my little twist of, like, okay, like, a lefty's up and I throw a sinker here for a strike. I throw a slider and he looked terrible on it. I'm going to go back to the slider because, one, that's what the Mariners want, and two, that's what I noticed in his swing. But, like, if I see a really bad swing on, like, a slider and I see him cheating, I'm going to throw it again. But if I see him late on a fastball, like, I'm going to double up on a fastball. So it's, like, kind of –
I'm interested to hear that
Yeah.
stuff always, because for me, I bring him up a lot. I just think Greg Maddux was just, other level, whole other level.
Yeah,
he was like a pro's pro. And listening to catchers that caught him over the years, I don't know if you've ever seen this, the way he caught the ball back from the catcher was what he was calling for the next pitch.
No, I didn't notice
If you've
that.
never seen it, it's worth watching. This could be a fastball, this could be a two-seam, whatever. Literally the way he caught the ball back from the catcher. He was calling the entire game himself. So I was just wondering how open Seattle was to that. So you make all these adjustments. We talked about winning a championship. Your ERA was disgusting at the beginning of the year. Your walks were out of control. You end the season once again leading the Texas League in ERA. You brought your ERA down from 11 or 12 to, I think, 2.84. 2.84. Shit. You believe it?
If it was me looking at it from the first month, no. But, like, now I can believe it just because, like, I had so much help throughout the next 3 or 4 months with the org and, like, Mike from BPC, and it's just, like, everything kind of just clicked, and it was just I was very grateful for all the support and help that I had.
2024. I'm going to share this with the audience. I asked you a couple weeks ago, while it was fresh in your mind, to write down your memories of this year.
Mm-hmm.
You had lived some terrible years, right?
Yeah.
Both with baseball, emotional stuff, through COVID, Tommy John, not Tommy John, what do? I can't get signed, nobody wants me, to Puerto Rico, the Dominican, the Caribbean World Series, Yadi Molina vouching for you, and the Seattle Mariners taking a shot, to you truly don't know what your capability is for next year. You don't know yet where the Mariners see you next year.
Nope.
It'll at least be AA.
Mm-hmm.
When you reflect on this journey, and I'm not talking about your life because that's too much to ask of you at your age.
Yeah.
When you reflect on this year, do you believe it?
Looking back on it, no. It's
All you ever wanted was a shot.
yeah.
Let me see that I'm not good enough to do this.
That's all I wanted is just let me prove that I don't belong, or let me prove I do belong, and not, like, just go off an image of my arm.
So clearly you belong. That's what I'm saying. Do you pinch yourself like to try and wake yourself up from a 6-month dream? I know you knew you had this in you. We knew you had this in you. We knew what you were capable of. But, let's call a spade a spade. Danny, you haven't been shut down in 2 years. You kept trying to prove yourself to everybody, which meant you went from, the frontier to Puerto Rico back to spring training, like with a week or so off. The following year, from Puerto Rico to the Dominican to the Caribbean World Series with maybe a week off to spring training.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it. You're tired.
Yes.
Your body's tired. You're exhausted. Mentally, you're tired. This is the first opportunity that you've had to just shut down.
Yep.
You good?
Yeah, I'm tired. I'll wake up and I just feel every part of my body just drained. Like I'll go hang out with my girlfriend. I'm passing out on her couch at 9:00. But I'm definitely feeling it, and I'm excited to actually have a break, even though I had offers to not have a break and do some pretty cool things in baseball, one with the Mariners and one with Team USA. But no, I'm excited. I think I took a really good took some good advice from you and stuff like that, and I felt like I made a really good choice just to shut down and get myself ready for spring training next year.
I don't always give good advice, so please understand that's not so typical. But with Danny, this has just been an incredible year. I couldn't have been more proud from where he came to where he is. He did have an offer to potentially pitch for Team USA in the Premier 12, which is just an unbelievable honor. And the Mariners did offer Danny to play instructs in the Arizona Fall League, which is also just amazing. After discussing it, we felt it was better for him to just shut down so that he can go back to the Mariners in spring training in Arizona at 100%. Not that his 85 or 90% was good enough. Obviously, you've proven yourself. I can't wait to see what you're like with a winter off of just working out and getting back to doing what you're doing, because I think you did so incredibly well. But let's call a spade. In 2024, the world is locked into velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Your velo is down, okay? And you're laughing, but I'm not, because it's down because you were tired.
Yeah.
Right? What's incredible to me is you were still incredibly effective at 88 to 91. I think taking the winter off from competing regularly could be a game changer, right? It could get you from 88-91 to 91-94. And if I'm sitting 93-94 from the left side with the arsenal that you have, I just think that the upside is tremendous. So that was the advice. That's what we talked about. I just think, 6 months ago, we were together and looking for the opportunity. Mm-hmm. I know I am kind of spoiled now. I just expected you to be that guy every time you took the field now. Mm-hmm. And I just think the upside is that much more tremendous for you going forward. Where do you sit now at the Mariners? What are you waiting for from them in the offseason, Danny?
Yeah, so they talked about doing our player plan meetings a couple weeks into the offseason. So I'll have a phone call with my pitching coach at some point, and then a little after that I'll have a video call with him and the rest of the pitching coordinators, and kind of discuss what they look for me to do in the off season, what they expect from me coming into spring training next year, and stuff like that. So right now I have no answers. It's just figure out whether what they want me to work on, if I'm going to be a starter, reliever, or a hybrid, or whatever the case is. But whatever it is, I'm just going to be ready to go and get ready for 2025.
And they know what they have, right? A hybrid is an interesting term to use for a pitcher, right? Mm-hmm. Last night in the Brewers Mets game, you saw Freddie Peralta come in, who's a starter, right? He came in the big leagues in a big spot in the eighth inning. So again, you're weird. You're different, right?
Yeah.
Like weird in a good way. You're different. A lot of guys can't do what you do. What makes Dan Wirchansky happy next year? Fast forward to 2025. Given the incredible, year-changing, life-changing year you had, what surpasses 2024 and 2025?
I wouldn't even say makes me happy. I would say like the goals I have is like obviously get an invite to big league camp. That would be obviously something I want to do. Like it would show like they have eye on me. They have faith in me. Like that they also see me possibly being in the big league, sending me to big league camp, and then obviously like getting my velo back to where it was or getting even higher, and like working on these pitches that I had to work on all year and like try to craft them to be better what they were, and just give myself the best shot to get to the big leagues, and whatever role it is, starting, relieving, it's just get ready for that. Yeah.
How difficult was this year for mom and dad and Ashley, right? And your brother and sister? I mean, listen, no matter where you've played, they've been able to just show up, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been able to take a ride somewhere and see you pitch. How difficult was this for the Wirchansky family?
It was definitely tough. I mean, my dad watched every time I pitched. He had the MILB app or whatever it was, and like Ashley had the same thing. Like she came down to Arkansas, you came down to Arkansas. My dad actually went out to Springfield for our playoff games with my Little League coach, so that was cool. But I just know it was like a little nerve-wracking for them every time, especially when I was struggling, because they know like how frustrating it was for me and stuff like that. And my dad says it's more frustrating on him than it is on me, which totally isn't true. But no, it was tough. But like my brother's whatever with it. Like there was a time I was starting and Garrett Cole's rehabbing in Somerset, and he's watching the rehab start for Garrett Cole and not watching me. But then like at the end of the year, he's watching like our playoff games and stuff like that. So it was fun for them, I think, especially like after the whole like season turned around and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it was enjoyable for them.
I have to ask this question. A lot of people won't get this. I don't care. When Dad came to Springfield, did he have his jorts on?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I told my teammates, I was like, because my dad sent like a huge box with a bunch of his like pizza shirts, and I was just giving them out to everyone. And I was like, oh, yeah, like my dad's going to be here. Everyone's like, oh, we got to wear our shirts. And then my Little League coach comes around while we're outside shagging for batting practice, and he goes to our video guy. He goes, hey, is Danny here? And he like, calls me over, and I say hi. I'm like, where's my dad? He goes, he's always up there. He didn't want to bother you. I was like, tell him to come down, like whatever. Next thing you know, he's got the DW shirt on. He's got the jorts on, a pair of my shoes. I'm like... But yeah, I told everyone, I was like, yeah, you'll see a guy in jorts, it's my dad.
God love him.
Yep.
God love him. Danny, listen, for me, I love you. Mm-hmm. And thanks for spending some time with us again today. All I'm going to say is, for me, this has been incredible for me to be the smallest, minuscule part of this. I look forward to our phone calls. I look forward to FaceTiming. I look forward to watching everything you're doing. But this time next year for episode 3,
mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to watch you play baseball in October next year.
That'd be fun. That's the goal.
That will be fun, because if I have to wear jorts, I will be there doing whatever I have to do with Gary to spend some time watching you on the bump. Proud of you. Everybody here is proud of you, your baseball family, your coaches at Pace University that I know, the entire Fury and Game on 13 family, not only because of what you did, who you are, how you speak to the kids, how you give back to the kids. And literally people don't understand, after being away for 6 months, you got home and the next day literally we're on a field with the kids, helping them in their journeys at 14, 15, and 16 years old. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for letting me be the tiniest part of this, and nothing but the best of luck going forward.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for being with us. Like I said, for me, this is just incredible. If you haven't seen episode 1, please take a few minutes, even skim through it. I know I spent a lot of time. It was an emotional episode with Danny just getting signed that day, the afternoon of our first podcast episode 6 months ago. This is an incredible young man, and dealing with some of the anxiety and the stress, being able to overcome that on the fly. from starter to reliever, wanting to junk some of his pitches and still coming back and lead the entire Texas League in ERA. Man, this is who I want in my foxhole when things get tough. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on 90 Feet Away.